Good evening, I'm Dan Rather, and tonight on CBS News.
In a shocking development, the federal government says being broke is allowed, but if you're broke and glowing, you are officially now a suspect.
You can't be glowing more than your financial status. Look your problem.
Producers have confirmed next season of Love Island will merge with the Hunger Games. Only one couple will survive the new format. Everyone else dies.
Senator Buck Nutley has unveiled his Big Girthy bill, a new proposal meant to rival the Big Beautiful bill. But does size really matter?
The shocking trend of Labubu violation continues as more and more people are finding their dolls' holes stretched wide open and reeking of shame.
If you thought Bigfoot was bad, wait till you meet his gooey cousin. A kumsquatch was just spotted in Dongwood National Forest.
Did you know IKEA has released a home glory hole kit called the Fuke Hole? It includes pre-drilled panels, mounting brackets, and a stain-proof finish. We begin with breaking news out of Massachusetts, where residents are reeling from what scientists are calling a cum-comet impact.
Officials are asking everyone to stay indoors and to wear N95 masks in case of cum aerolization.
President Trump kicking off another busy week at the White House.
It has been yet another eventful week in Washington.
The activity level is off the charts. The president dialed in. He is executing his agenda at a lightning fast pace. Here's something we rarely see in American politics. President Trump is actually keeping his campaign promises, and he's doing them as quickly as possible.
This administration's moving at political light speed, and they're just getting started.
We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing. Goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. Have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's official. Former President Donald Trump will be running for president again in 2024.
Donald Trump got the stamina and the will to do this again. He's come under such tremendous...
Everything is on the line in this election.
A busy day in the campaign world up in Butler today. Former President Trump holding a rally at 5 o'clock.
They just tried to kill President Trump.
Not even an assassin's bullet could stop him.
It feels like the climax of a superhero movie. The first act, up 2016. The second act, 2020. The third act, he almost dies. And then what happens?
Donald Trump will become the 47th President of the United States.
Rare in American politics, a presidential sequel.
He believes he has a, quote, mandate to bring common sense back to the country.
It's our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth.
He has the opportunity to reset everything around the world.
Under President Trump's leadership, the message to America's enemies is loud and clear. Peace through strength is back.
No amount of hysteria, no amount of fear-mongering is going to shake the president's resolve.
This is the wholesale destruction of the liberal state. He is gutting liberal Washington, D.C. in a way that they say could be permanent.
47 means business. The White House is holding all the cards.
I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success.
The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's coming and not try to deliver, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
We have breaking news. A laser-guided ship missile has just been launched from Rectomopolis, reportedly targeting Pennsylvania.
We're live from the scene where a laser-guided ship missile launched from Rectomopolis has struck Pennsylvania.
This just in, a pubnado blankets St. Louis in a thick bush this evening.
Downtown is completely covered in pubic hair, causing highways to close out of caution.
It's coming right for us. We need to get out of here now. Oh my God, it's taking the houses.
A massive gizzard has buried Kamlambus in 2 feet of dong load. Locals blame the lack of preparation on Mayor Linda P. Slurp.
The city of Columbus is reeling today after an unprecedented event. What officials are calling a jizzard has left downtown streets.
Customs officials at Orbital Port 69 have seized over 420 stolen jork blades, many still warm and dripping.
A magnitude 6.9 queefquake rattled Clamlip Valley this morning, releasing a torrent of pussy farts.
The children's reading session of This Little Piggy Got Pegged has been cancelled, with parents saying the book is too anatomically detailed for kids.
Lawmakers remain deadlocked on the big beautiful bill, with some saying $10 billion more is needed for fleshlights and robo-cooters for dudes on dry spells.
Los Angeles, because she served her fried chicken instead of a quinoa salad. Megan Mayonnaise went to the restaurant called The Last Supper, where she claims she was flabbergasted that they would serve her fried chicken when she in fact ordered a quinoa salad. Ms. Mayonnaise said waitress Sharkeisha Trinity knowingly gave her fried chicken, although Ms. Mayonnaise pleaded that she didn't want to eat any urban food. We have Ms. Mayonnaise along with her attorney, Roger Bangher. Can you explain how you were feeling, Ms. Mayonnaise?
I told Sharkeisha Trinity 300 times, let me speak with your manager. And she just kept twerking, sticking her tongue out and laughing at me.
We have exclusive CCTV footage from the restaurant of Miss Mayonnaise and Sharkeisha's fried chicken confrontation. Miss Mayonnaise is suing Sharkeisha Trinity for everything she got, which is 3 deadbeat fathers and $100 in unpaid child support.
We need your $80,000 down payment now.
Can I do 6 child support checks, 1 EBT card, 10 Section 8 credits, and 2 Medicaid payments?
We take it all.
Welcome back to White News Network. I'm your host, Kimberly Kumquat. Today, the BFI released documents that claim no special files exist from that one famous island. Wink, wink. BFI director said, quote unquote, although you've seen plenty of known people at that island, no American people, you were just seeing shit. The BFI office also released perfectly edited 24-hour surveillance footage of that jail cell where the main guy in charge was being held. At this point, these guys are playing in our face. Most of you are too blind to see it.
Welcome back, folks, to the White News Network. I'm your host, Tom Blandley, and tonight a white woman is leaving her husband after trying a YN. HOA President Skylar White told WNN she is filing for divorce because, quote unquote, after trying a YN, you never go back. Her husband, Kevin White, owner of Proud Boys Country Club, says he is devastated by the news and that it is, quote unquote, total malarkey. The divorce hearing is set for July 13th at Cornbread District Family Court. If Mrs. White wins, she will be entitled to half of his shit that she never worked for. Next up, rock star Roger Bangher has already impregnated 3 women on his Fuckfest tour. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Want to do some totally unnecessary shit like mountain jump with a fly suit on? Then head over to whitepeopleshit.com.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
Swim with sharks, it's a blast. Make memories that last.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
And then I did this. I did this. And then I did this. I did this. And then I did this.
I did this. And then I did this. I did this. And then I did this. I did this. And then I did this. I did this.
Yo, let's go. All right, guys, let's do some news. Doing a double header tonight. Salute to the chat. See you in Lord of Brooklyn. Universal Black. Let's go. We'll get these reps in. We're going to start out with Chicago. He said, was anybody else just vibing to the music? StreamYard cut my mic off. I had to exit the studio and come back in so I ain't have to end the stream. Weird stuff be happening, man. Who was that music in the intro? Gil Sky Heron? No, it's just something I looped up on the MPC, man. I be making beats, bro. Well, I be making all the music, all the videos and stuff you see. I produce all that shit. All right, let's get cracking. We're going to start off with the Labor Day, and then we're going to lean into Trump sending these troops to National Guard and federal law enforcement into Chicago. It's looking like it's almost inevitable. So let's.
A deadly Labor Day weekend in Chicago as President Trump continues to set his eye on the city, threatening to send in the National Guard as early as this week. At least 52 people have been shot in Chicago over the Labor Day weekend. 7 of those victims died.
The violence included 3 mass shootings that happened at Haddon in California.
And it's crazy with this going on. This happened right before Brandon Johnson doubled down and was like, Chicago's safe. And literally 48 hours later, 50 shootings.
In Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood and 2 in Chicago's Bronzeville neighborhood, 35th and State and 36th and Cottage Grove. ABC 7's Jasmine Miner talked to people in Bronzeville about concerns about 2 mass shootings happening within 48 hours.
Many here in Bronzeville describe the neighborhood as on the come up, and they say they're not going to let the violence stop the positive work they're doing. For one woman, that means keeping kids healthy, active, and on the field.
Smoke.
we're gonna push through because it disservices the kids.
Alexis Hawthorne, owner of the top-tier university football youth program, says even gun violence won't keep her from serving kids in need. Their practice comes just a few hours and down the road from a mass shooting early this morning. 5 people were shot near 36th and Cottage Grove near Ellis Park, including a 17-year-old who was in critical condition.
At the end of the day, to have one person that was critically injured and 4 folks in the hospital, whatever the situation was, it was senseless.
It is the second mass shooting in Bronzeville in the last 48 hours. The other happened on Saturday night near 35th and State, where 7 people were hurt during a drive-by. Those like Alderman Pat Howell are taking action, telling ABC7 in a statement, "I have long asked for additional police manpower to deal with large illegal gatherings and pop-up parties that routinely occur throughout the Bronzeville neighborhood." It follows Mayor Brandon Johnson signing an executive order this week to avoid the Trump administration from sending the National Guard into the streets of Chicago.
Us as people, we can come together and fix it out on our own. We don't need no one to come here and, wreck shop.
That's why you don't listen to Keisha. She talk about we don't need no one to come here and wreck shop. You don't think 50 shootings is wrecking shop? This is why Keisha should not be elected and be making any decisions leading your communities or anything. How many times we got to remind you? And Trump was going to send in the National Guard his first term. He didn't know the lay of the land back then. If it's going to be a 30-day thing, I would just say look at the numbers. Let's see when the troops hit the ground or the federal law enforcement officers hit the ground. They coming down there to get illegals as well, since it's a sanctuary city. And let's see if the numbers look like D.C. No murders in X amount of days.
Like our community.
Others think the troops could help.
I got kids, and I want to see the community better. I run every day out here. I exercise out here. So for the street to be safer, I think it's really good.
But Hawthorne says her football program does just that. Teaching kids a healthier way to have fun.
We're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that these kids have somewhere to come.
Alderman Lamont Robinson tells ABC7 that Chicago police do have 1 person in custody from the shooting this morning.
All right, bet. Now let's look at the news on the response from Chicago regarding this, and some of the people in Chicago. So let's do this one first. Because despite all of Brendan's press conferences, if you look at social media, especially on TikTok, aside from like a lot of, the typical old ninjas, a lot of people want Trump to come.
Federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. Are you prepared to defend this land? If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution, it's going to be the labor movement that stitches it back together.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson rallying against President Trump's offer to deploy federal troops to help the city fight crime. Now, this despite a violent holiday weekend. At least 7 people were shot and killed and dozens more wounded. Kata Truss lives in Chicago. She is the director of the Community Roundtable and joins us now. Great to have you back on the show. I want to read to you what's in Mayor Johnson's executive order. He says the city will pursue all available legal and legislative avenues to counter coordinated efforts from the federal government that violate the rights of the city and its residents. You're closer to the people than we are, and we'd love to hear what you think about all of this that's going on, and especially the very tragic news from over the weekend.
Well, first of all, this has been a very violent weekend in the city of Chicago. As a matter of fact, the last several weekends in Chicago have been very violent. And so when Mayor Johnson stands there and talks about taking over the city and not letting troops come in, it's as opposed to what? As opposed to the high crime that is here, as opposed to the murders and the violence that's going on, as opposed to businesses being afraid to open their doors because they're constantly being robbed. What's the point in this? You know, the fact of the matter is this. Mayor Johnson has a dismal approval rating. And so going against President Trump probably in his mind seems like the right thing to do. He has never listened to the people and what we really want since he's been in office. And, you know, what is really happening here is I feel that the mayor is probably deflecting. He's deflecting from the fact that he mismanaged the city's money by supporting the migrant crisis. And he asked the Board of Education to take out a junk loan for the city to cover costs. That's basically what the loan is for. So now that the Board of Education has refused, most of the measures that he's really tried to push in this city have been turned down because they've been things that have not been beneficial to the people here. So of course he's going to go against whatever measures President Trump puts in place.
Right. So he would use politics and a fight with Trump in order to help his own standing, is what I hear you say. I want you to listen to some of these Chicago business owners to talk about what they're going through.
The city's not safe, you know, for the mayor and the governor to go on TV and use us as statics, as numbers. I mean, we're human beings. We're talking about real time. We have to hire extra security, private security on the street. We have to make sure that we advise all our patrons when they go home and check the Uber. People can't even walk their dogs. I mean, this is to believe that the city is safe the way they made it sound in the press conference. It is wrong.
Kata, if Brandon Johnson were to change his mind today and take President Trump up on the offer, get some results like they're seeing in Washington, D.C., do you think that his approval would actually be harmed in the city?
Absolutely not. It may help him, considering the fact that his approval rating is at a dismal 1 digit. It might be something that can help him. But the fact of the matter is, it really doesn't matter about what Brandon Johnson says. It doesn't matter about his politics. What matters is the people. And the people here in Chicago don't feel safe. The people here in Chicago want the help that President Trump is trying to send here. So regardless of what the mayor says, we want the help.
Kata, thank you for being here. I think that there could be, perhaps news about this in the next week or so, maybe sooner. And we'd love to have you back. You're a great guest for us to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
All right, bet. Now let's play. Trump took a press conference on Chicago and sending in federal law enforcement troops as well. And I think Quiet Storm already put it in the chat. I think you might have sent me this one. Actually, I think Storm did send me this one. Yeah, dismal. We have 1 digit approval rating. It's crazy. He said, Irvin said, my channel is the hardest to not only get notifications, but not showing that you are live while actively looking is diabolical. Yo, I'll be telling y'all. We brute forced our way to this 26,000 subscribers. When we first started going live and streaming, I was at 200 subscribers. They flatlined my entire channel. We still trying to push the long form videos into the algorithm. Yo, we the little channel that could. Yeah, I know none of my notifications go out, nothing. Notifications don't go out. They don't even show. Sometimes you don't even get the red dot showing them live. I know. Let's go. Yeah, dismal 1%. Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, and earlier we this is a double shift for me tonight. I put a clip show together with 2 Thugtician segments. So we're about to start doing. I talked to Saul. We're about to start doing these legacy streams from some of the 1.0 content creators, and we're just gonna let the public decide. A lot of good. You'll see that a lot of stuff from the established lexicon was already being spoken upon by a lot of the gentlemen from 1.0. Tito's from 1.0 still around. I know Sergeant Willie Pete, a few others still making content. So let's check it with Trump's press conference on Chicago. And
have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look,
Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say about, we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with it. They should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called DC.
I mean, I think that's the fundamental point. If we're just looking at numbers and stats, how can you have 50 people shot on a weekend and that's not a state of emergency?
District of Columbia, right here where we are, it's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And
Storm says, I hope the Olympics don't come here to LA. Teach them a lesson that Bass and Newsom ruined the multi-billion-dollar business with tourism. Yeah. I'm really of the opinion that the Democrats don't care about anything regarding that. They got this agenda. They got these big donors behind them with this globalist agenda. They're all getting rich by lining their pockets, and they're doing it. Let's keep it a buck. They're doing it on the backs of poor people and the mentally ill, because the majority of their far left base, these are mentally ill people. We just saw what happened with the shooting in Minneapolis.
There are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago, it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week, you know, it was like years, many years where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had last week, it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, I have a little bit of a crime problem.
Facts. That's actually a really good point. Like, listen to the irony of this. He's in front of another world leader from another nation. We're the most powerful nation in the world. This is the country's capital. And he's announcing, yeah, nobody got killed this week. That's crazy, right? And I think that speaks to the normative violence that shout out to AC, that we've come to expect in the rap community. And then the politicians that you elect that help normalize it and tell you this is normal. It's not a problem. Only 50 people shot this last weekend. Not a problem.
And we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, who were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now,
Fact serving, actual reduction in crime numbers, not a manufactured one. And I think that's happening in most Democratic strongholds. This party's got to be rooted, got to be sent into the wilderness and torn out root and branch. Do you know what I mean? And shout out to the brothers that we're saying leaning to the right, but it's not. It's really leaning to the center, because the Democratic Party is going so far left. But none of the policies they have in place benefit communities in general, and most definitely not the FBA black man. We're on the right side of history with this one back in its play.
Going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster.
You talk about the police commissioner they hired. She's the head of the police down there. She was, it's Akeisha. And before that, she wasn't even like a super cop. She was a DEI officer.
Et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have...
Yeah, that's a good point, Irvin. He said it needs to be stated that Trump is respecting the governor's authority. The gotta ask or be voted out. They got the... what's that say? The gotta ask or be voted out come election time. Yeah, well, Trump respects states' rights. A lot of that's what shows like this and the content creators that make political or just social commentary content. They're doing a huge public service because like I said, just imagine as it was prior to Trump's election, if you were just nonstop every day, the only thing you were receiving was this ridiculous leftist spin from the mainstream media. I mean, y'all be just as goofy as the Keishas. Yo, what up, Dave? Now he says salute Matismo TV in chat. Hell yeah. Facts, Storm. Even the mayor of D.C. has reversed course on the numbers in D.C. And to her credit, she publicly gave Trump credit for the no murders and the crime stats. Another good thing is that we're living in the data age. All this people being able to get up and say things without any receipts and have their word be gospel, even news spin, man. The fact that everybody can go and on the internet and find receipts and in real time debunk stuff. This democratization of information is like one of the best things that has happened to us, and I'm glad that the FBA Black men is making very good use of it to their benefit.
I would say Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. We took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place. And you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am, please.
Calling on Democratic leaders across the country to work with you on crime. Do you see your efforts here in D.C., including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
So Mayor Bowser's been great. She could have taken the thing, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done. There's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great. He's not.
Universal Black says, yeah, it took a New Yorker, Queen stand up to fix up D.C. Yo, it's a fact, though. Yo, what up, Red Sigma? He said, I'm man enough to say I was wrong about the National Guard situation in D.C., and now they need them in Chicago. Yo, shout out to you for that. Yeah, I think we did like a little back and forth in the chat about that. Yeah, and I think I was saying, let's see it play out. Let's see what the numbers look like. Let's see if there's any type of weird mishaps, but something got to be done. The crime was ridiculous, and I think I was saying to you, like, yeah, well, it's only 30 days. Let's see what the 30 days look like. Yeah, so salute to you, Red Sigma. Let's see. Irvin says exactly, Trump. Can't waste time and money on housing. Exactly. until you uproot the problem. That's what DC is saying. That's what Brandon's saying. Like, oh no, just send us the money. Don't send no law enforcement. We just need the money so we can get housing and everything. It's the same thing with the school board of education in the schools. We spend more money per student and per capita than any place in the world, and we're behind. But with a majority of countries, we know they're saying now they're saying boys and girls, students, but we know the FBA boys are the ones hurting the most, reading at 4th grade levels. Can't read past 4th grade levels. He said that's like leaving cookies out knowing you have an issue with roaches and ants. It's a whole fact, though. That's a whole fact, though.
We're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes. But the main thing is but he got up and said, we did it. Well, he didn't want us there, and he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain. It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. It's a lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat. But when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, that's not this country. We have to do something. And I do say this, I say this very much. I'm not speaking to anybody but them right now. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force. You know, Pete will tell you that when I was running for office, and this was a big headline, I think, you know, probably got me a couple of votes, but you couldn't sign people in the military. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Air Force, the Navy, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard. We never forget Coast Guard because they've done such a great job. Never. But nobody wanted to join any of them. We were way below what we wanted. Every single one. The closest was the Marines, whatever that is. You'll explain that to me. But the closest was the Marines. But every service was way down, way down. And then I got elected, and our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world right now.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
All right, bet. That was a good segment. Let's do this Kellyanne Conway segment with the state of the Democratic Party. And I want to do one of these soldier of finance segments because I don't know if this is going to go all the way through, but it was looking like Jasmine Crockett might be running for freaking senator in Texas, and that she's up by like 15 points, if you could believe it. I thought we got her up out of the paint.
Well, welcome back to Fox and Friends. A shocking new Gallup poll reveals that just about 0% of Democrats are happy with the direction of the country. That number showing a stark divide between the party.
Yes, sir, Quiet Storm. You did send me these. You did send me them jaws. And I got you as I done took your avatar and made it one of the avatar for the skin. You doing a Thugtician voiceover on the first Black Manosphere 1.0 stream, man.
And the rest of America, which officials highlighted at this week's DNC summer meeting.
We are not giving over this country to some Timu dictator with swollen ankles.
DEI is the very foundation.
Oh, hold on. We gotta run that back. This is your
some Timu dictator with swollen.
See that? That's your Democratic black male, boy. This is your, and that's a good pause. I paused it at the right time. If you're a black man and you're a Democrat right now, you're an FBA black man, you got some splaining to do. These are your boys.
Not giving over this country to some Timu dictator with swollen ankles.
DEI is the very foundation of the Christian church.
The DNC acknowledges and honors the Dakota Oyate, the Dakota people, who are the original stewards of the lands and waters of Minneapolis.
Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
Here to react is former counselor to President Trump and Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway. So great to see you this morning, Kellyanne. So have you ever seen a poll quite like this? And what do you think it means?
Yo, Red Sigma, you're right, though. That's really what it is. DNC is sassy tethers. All the black people you see in the even in the Congressional Black Caucus, they're not FBAs, but a lot of them are sassy. It's been a coup right underneath y'all noses, bro. And y'all wondering why things ain't working out for you, and you got people that look like you, but they are not you, and they don't have your interests in mind. Yeah, we got to get rid of the Keishas and the sassy tethers. Yo, what up, Sauce? See you in the building, man.
No, you rarely see a poll, Charlie, where the percentage is zero, because there's a margin of error of about 3.5%, which means the Democrats can actually be negative 3.5% miserable. If you look at the crosstabs of this poll, by the way, everybody, this is self-reported data. People are being asked, how do you feel? Since 1972, conservatives have consistently said that they are happier, more joyful in their everyday lives, and have more stable mental health. These are self-reported statistics. And so President Trump's accomplishments, 200 days of winning, has just accelerated that misery for the other side. Folks, there's an old saying, if you can't beat him, join him. And it's about time to get on the right side of 80, 20, 90, 10 issues like crime, like lower taxes, like fewer regulations, like a secure border, peace through strength, the whole list of it. And Charlie, if you look at the crosstabs here, Nate Silver even pointed out, this poll suggests that younger people are less happy, that more religious people have more joy, and that the conservative liberal dichotomy was the most distinct difference in the entire poll, more than age, race, gender, socioeconomic status, geography, work status. Think about that. The way where you stand on how you feel mentally and in your everyday joy has an awful lot to do with where you sit on the political spectrum.
Wow. It's such a great point. By the way, the University of Chicago has been doing this happiness study for decades, and they have found the demographic that's the most happy are conservative women. The least happy demographic, liberal men, think Al Gore, or you can name whoever you want. But I think it's interesting because, you know, why not? I mean, is it that, especially now that Trump is elected, as conservatives become happier, they become less happy? And also the reaction to so many just normal things like crime going down, not happy about it, or even the reaction to the tragedy at the Catholic school in Minneapolis. Such a pessimistic, awful way to look at it. Like prayers don't matter. I mean, if prayers don't matter, it's going to be tough to get through life.
Well, God bless those sweet souls, Rachel, Harper, and Flesher, and their families. But to your point, the Democrats see opportunity in tragedy, in pain, in suffering, because they have it self-reported data on their own. I think President Trump has accelerated it for them. Remember, a year ago, they were told he'd be in the big house and never again the White House. And here he is just steamrolling them at every turn. They're trying to show they're so tough on Twitter, because the last time we women wanted to see if a guy was tough and gentlemanly and resolute is I checked their social media feed, never. And so, I mean, God bless Gavin Newsom, but he looks like an ad for the Untuck It shirt. So I don't know that is, you know, really presidential. I'm sure I'll get a text or an email about this. So be it. And if it goes on Twitter, I'll never see it. But seriously speaking, folks, put down your phone. Get your, nose out of the coffee shop, go take a walk, breathe some fresh air, get a friend or a colleague from across the aisle and just say, why do you feel that way? Why are you? But the other thing about President Trump is he's got such joy on the job now. He's
gonna
setting
say
the
that,
tone and the
Kellyanne.
pace for how joyful people are. He just does. He's having a great time bringing the USA, getting rid of all these ridiculous acronyms, DEI and ESG and BLM and CRT and the rest of it, and replacing it with USA. People are feeling great about this country.
Oh, Kellyanne, you just nailed it on the head the entire interview. But that last part, Sean said, my husband says, he just, every time he's around him, he's like, I can't believe how much this guy loves his job.
Yeah.
He just seems so happy. Kellyanne Conway, you do too. You're in that group of the happiest demographic, conservative women. So
I couldn't
enjoy.
be happier, never more joyful. Thank you.
Awesome.
Take care, everyone.
All right, but yeah, she got jokes with that, saying what Newsom looked like a ad for the Untuck It shirt. They had a big Untuck It store right down there in Center City of Philly. I remember that. All right, let's do my boy over at Soldier of Finance, because I wanna do this Jasmine Crockett segment, because this was news to me. I didn't know that she might be on the docket for running for, I guess Texas gets 2 Senate seats. So this is new. I thought we got her out of the paint with her being redrawn out of her district. This chick just can't get this chick up. We got to get this chick up out of here. So this is our guy over at Soldier of Finance. Let's go.
Well, you haven't exactly been, friendly to the other side.
Listen, I know that there is this idea that they hate me, but actually so many Republicans adore me. They really do.
Representative Jasmine Crockett leads the Texas U.S. Senate primary for Democrats. Do I need to repeat that? She's leading the Texas U.S. Senate primary for Democrats 35% to Colin Allred at 20%. She's leading by 15 percentage points.
All right, Lyndon B. Johnson, former Democrat president of the United States, once said, the difference between the House and the Senate is the difference between chicken shit and chicken salad. Now, why is that? Well, because right now, the House has over 500 members, 535 members. 535 congressmen and women. And, congressmen, they're running in a district within the state. So it's a little easy to get because Senate is a statewide vote, right? So you need less money. And if you look at the current crop of congressmen and women, you obviously...
Facts, Red Sigma. He said, notice the sister girl cosplay is over? Exactly. Now that it's no longer useful. And she got paid to do that. She's a multimillionaire now. She didn't come in as a multimillionaire. So they paid her to act like a ratchet Keisha. Think about that.
You need far less common sense, education, and speaking ability. All right. So it's easier to become a congressman. So that's drawing from a larger pool, and you get all kinds of people in the Congress. Now, when it comes to Senate, you got to win a statewide election. You gotta have some resources to do that. And look, this is the way it was designed. It was designed that the Senate would be more erudite, much more deliberative, okay? And remember, senators have 6-year terms, where congressmen and women have 2-year terms, okay? So it's a whole different ballgame. Now, I want you to weigh in the comments. When you think of a United States senator, do you picture Jasmine Crockett?
You know why we fighting with Greenland? Why we fighting with Greenland? We fighting with Canada. We fighting with Mexico. Yeah, we in love with Putin. What is happening? Like, this is not America. This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the fuck up, because I'm ready to get on. Listen, Donald Trump is a piece of shit. Okay, we know that. Yes, he is. He is.
Well, when Jasmine Crockett looks in the mirror, she sees a U.S. senator. And hey, look, If you don't think it, who will, right? Well, Jasmine, you could think it all you want. I certainly won't agree with you. You don't have the temperament, and I highly doubt that Jasmine Crockett is going to win a statewide election in Texas. Now, I think she could have, prior to her starting with all of the ghetto antics. I think that Jasmine Crockett would have been extremely competitive with her educational pedigree.
He's got a point there. She's got the right pedigree to be a senator. If she ran on her real pedigree, because she's not stupid. That's all an act. If you see all of her earlier interviews, she's actually really smart. Democratic Party, Democratic Plantation, they needed her to play Keisha. They paid her well for it. You know, she took the money. But I think he's actually making a good point. If she had ran on, let's just say, the respectability politics aspect of it with her pedigree and schooling and that, I think she'd actually probably had a good shot. It's a good observation on this part.
The fact that she is an attorney, the way she used to present herself, okay, I think she would have been extremely competitive on a statewide run. Not anymore. She's out there competing to be, I don't know, Showtime at the Apollo. I don't know what it is she's doing. If this one thing happens, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett says she'll consider a run for Senate. It'll be entertaining. There has been much speculation as to what the Democrat field of candidates for U.S. Senate might look like in Texas come the March primary. So far, former Congressman Colin Allred is the only major candidate to announce. And he just lost to Senator Ted Cruz by 8.5 percentage points last year. So he's already tried his hand in Senate. Remember, every state has 2 senators. The amount of congressmen you have depends on population. After a viral interview with podcaster Joe Rogan, State Representative James Talarico is being mentioned as a possible senatorial candidate as well. And then there's Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who, according to some polls, would be in the lead for the Democrat nomination for U.S. Senate. Okay? The North Texas Democrat is also a top fundraiser among members of Congress from Texas. Okay? We asked the...
You say even in politics I can't do the reach back? Yeah, that's a hell yeah. Well, I mean, I already told you guys, like, Occam's razor approach. We got a Pareto distribution of FBA black men voting for Trump. And you see the benefit. You see what the outcome of that is in terms of DEI being wiped, 300K Keishas losing their gigs, a lot of trade-related jobs coming back to the States, all things that benefit FBA black men. For all the brothers with the CDLs, all these drivers now need to be able to speak English and pass the English test. So that means more loads for the brothers. Like I said, Occam's razor. Let's keep it simple. Just stop voting for Keishas. What? Very simple. Get them out of office, bro, and we'll take it from there. Verse Sigma says, throwing away of the sister girl cosplay is emblematic of how Democrats, the party of the KKK, treats black Americans. Yo, spot on. That is 100% spot on, bro. Shit. Got your ass. Exactly. Let's see. Crockett may be a perennial candidate. Like, yeah, exactly. Like Stacey Abrams. Yeah, we got Stacey Abrams up out of the paint. Exactly. You mean those black jobs Trump was talking about? Exactly. Y'all seen a lot. I mean, I played some of the clips of the guys of the random dudes on social media, just talking about, once the deportation started, they was able to walk up on construction sites and get hired right on the spot, when months before they couldn't get placed.
And that just proves a fool and their money a soon party. We asked the Congresswoman, we being this publication, ABC WFAA, down here in Texas, they asked the Congresswoman what it would take for her to consider a run for U.S. Senate and launch a campaign. And this is what she says, quote, if there is a general versus primary poll that came out that said that I could be competitive, that would be something I would have to consider, unquote. She told that to Inside Politics. All right, so all she needs to see is a poll. And, okay, polling data has not always been very accurate, but that's what she needs to see, and here's why she's saying that. Because if she ran for Senate, she'd need a lot of money, and so she needs some basis to convince fundraisers to support her campaign. A member of the Texas House before moving to the Congress, Crockett acknowledges she's never run for statewide office because Texas is such a large state and statewide name recognition is often a major ingredient for success. That is a factor she said she'd have to consider. I would argue that Jasmine Crockett has national name recognition, but not for good reasons, all right? She is the butt of a lot of jokes, and it's self-inflicted. So name recognition ain't going to stop you down there in Texas. They all know exactly who you are, Jasmine, okay? And this begs another question. Why can't you just get a job? Why do these people, and it's not just her, there's a large contingent of the political class. They can't work real jobs. They got to keep on getting elected. We got one here. Johnny Olszewski. He used to be a county councilman. People saw the light briefly and threw his ass out of office, but then miraculously he came back and became a county executive. Okay. Then he went from there to congressman. Okay. So they fail upward, especially in the Democrat Party, but you got a lot of Republicans that do that same thing. So Jasmine goes on, the fact that I represent 1/38 of the state, it is daunting to think that I could be competitive statewide. But if I could, only representing 1/38 of the state and having never run statewide before, it's something I'd have to take a long, hard look at. Here's the thing. Jasmine knows that, it's getting down to brass tacks now, right? It's getting down to just deriving an income, right? And Jasmine is addicted to the high life that these celebrity Congress people live. She's used to being on the Sunday shows. She's used to coming to work whenever the hell she feels like it. Her own staff says she doesn't leave her luxury apartment that often. She's living like a little ghetto diva over there. So she knows that if she took her law degree and went to actually work for a firm, if one would hire her, then she'd have to actually work, and she couldn't treat her staff like shit, okay, because there'd be an accountability hierarchy. Right now, who's she accountable to other than the voters? And all she's got to do is skin and grin for them in that district. That is going away for them to support her. So she's out of a job because they've redistricted her. And at this point, she doesn't relish having to go back into the real world where you and I reside, right? She wants to maintain this air of royalty that she's built. And she can't imagine not being in that Congress and having that kind of lavish attention on her every minute of every day. Well, I don't think Jasmine Crockett has a chance in hell to win a Senate seat in Texas.
All right, bet. Okay. Because I didn't watch that segment all the way through. I thought she was a serious contender right now. They're just showing the polling numbers with her on the Democratic side. showing her 15 points ahead. She's not actually in the race. Because yeah, when I read the title, I was like, you got to be kidding me! I thought we just got rid of this broad. He says she's a good 3 a.m. bust down. Yeah, she is. She is. Keisha going Keisha. All right, let's do this final segment. We're going to do a crypto segment. Let's do this crypto segment real quick and get up out of here. We're a little bit past the 1 hour mark. I did a double header tonight. I want to start doing we be archiving a lot of like the good talking points from the space. That's what we were doing since season 1. So we're gonna start archiving some of this 1.0 shit. So it's all for the public record, and we can stream from our catalog at any time. This is a little bit of crypto news. It's fairly recent, but it's I wanted to play this one because this one slid under the radar, and I actually thought Circle was done with, so they must have revamped because they had an app out several years ago, and it ended up they ended up taking it down. So this is why companies like JP Morgan and Visa are creating crypto tokens.
Crypto may finally be going mainstream, spurred in part by the billion-dollar public debut of Circle, the issuer of stablecoin USDC, and the passage of the stablecoin legislation drafted by the Senate, dubbed the Genius Act.
Yeas are 68, the nays are 30. The bill as amended is passed.
Big finance players are getting in on the action. Coinbase, which earns half of the revenue generated by USDC, launched a new partnership with payment platform Stripe and e-commerce giant Shopify to bring USDC payments to merchants around the world. JP Morgan announced its own stablecoin-like product called JPND. Payments firm Fiserv.
Oh, y'all want to do a by the numbers segment tonight? We got time. All right, screw it. I'll do a by the numbers after the crypto block. Screw it. We'll do a by the numbers segment. All right, see, we got blocks that are favorites now. Lord of Brooklyn actually is making a good point. Being a failed Senate candidate may be the perfect setup, for a cable news network job. And I think you're spot on with that too, because more than anything, she actually wants to be on camera than to actually be a politician. And Joy Reid was making $3-4 million a year? Yeah, she could snag a cable news network job for $1 or $2 million. She might take that. Although at the same time, mainstream media is taking an L left and right. They can't afford them salaries for these people anymore. Shout out to Saul. He says, yeah, y'all be sure to take a look at that Manosphere Legacy series. It has Thugtician and Barbarossa. Yeah, we're going to start doing some archival stuff. Start archiving as much of the 1.0 stuff. Remixing it, making it fly. Putting it on rotation in the catalog. You know how we do over here. So, forming like Voltron over here. Jasmine might pop up on a view. Yo, that's a whole fact, though. Let's go.
Announced a stablecoin to pair with the 90 billion transactions that it processes every year. And even Walmart and Amazon are reportedly looking into their own tokens. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the launch of these dollar-pegged stablecoins could unlock a $2 trillion market.
We are a payments company, and we saw the potential of this technology to bring the next generation of payment rails. We didn't know whether it was going to play out or not, but it was absolutely too important for a payments company not to have a horse in the race.
Cards were this whole new money movement platform that were created many decades ago, and they've created trillions of new economic value, and we think that stablecoins will do the same.
But there are some who believe that these products aren't ready for prime time. Crypto is still fending off an industry-wide reckoning. There are concerns that the rise of stablecoins risk the financial system's stability, And these digital dollars lock consumers out of lucrative interest payments because stablecoins aren't allowed to pay yield. So why are some of the biggest companies in the world going all in on their own crypto tokens? Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies that aim to do exactly what their name suggests, remain stable. Unlike Bitcoin, which garners investor attention for its huge up and downside, or NFTs, which often rise in price based on hype alone, stablecoins are pegged to the price of another asset. And in many cases, that's the US dollar.
That digital representation of a dollar, you can move around between two different wallets, two different entities, two different businesses in any jurisdiction in the world.
Stablecoins are able to keep that $1 peg because they hold reserves of real dollars or cash equivalents like US treasuries. Those reserves are intended to match the amount of the stablecoin in circulation. Circle's USDC and Tether's USDT are the biggest stablecoins by far, with a combined $217 billion in circulation.
Tether is located in El Salvador. They are targeting global customers, not in the United States in this case. But Circle, located in the United States, in New York, they are under the New York regulatory umbrella, and they are targeting to United States customers.
Now, proponents of these tokens say they have the potential to overhaul the global financial system. Right now, transactions can take days to complete, but stablecoins could settle payments instantly, day or night, thanks to the blockchain. But here in the US, adoption of stablecoins has been slow. Many people don't really notice if their payment on the card is processing for a few days. PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App provide sort of instant transfers for consumers, even if it really takes days for that money to change hands for the company.
A barrier to access to stablecoins is very low, and this gives unbanked communities, people, an opportunity to receive, save, and spend US dollars without a bank account.
These tokens could allow cheap transactions across borders, and many people in emerging markets are already using stablecoins as an alternative to volatile local currencies. But here in the US, adoption of stablecoins has been slow.
You can see today people who are sending money to their loved ones abroad, and they're using stablecoins to fund those remittances and avoid any transaction fees. But you're also going to see stablecoin use cases that are in the water supply, that are infrastructure and that are abstracted from the consumer. Many of the users out there today are not aware of stablecoins or not interested in stablecoins, and they should not be. It should just be a way in which you move value, and in many cases, it's going to be an infrastructure layer.
Corporations, however, see big potential for stablecoins. The IPO Circle, which is the issuer of USDC, unlocked billions of dollars in pent-up demand for these issuers. After raising $1.1 billion during its debut on June 5th, the company's stock soared more than 700% just in June. Then, new Circle partnerships and competition quickly followed. A stablecoin product launches from crypto exchange Coinbase, Shopify, French bank Societe Generale, and payments platform Fiserv quickly hit the headlines.
We're entering the utility phase right now, where the technology has matured. It's gotten fast, it's gotten cheap, it's gotten easy to use, and that's leading to real-world adoption across businesses and consumers. And stablecoins are at the forefront of it.
These announcements all touted the same benefits for companies: faster payments, the ability to transact 24/7. But corporations are also looking to stablecoins to cut costs. One big area for savings: payment processing fees. Card issuers raked in a record $187 billion in transaction fees in 2024, according to Nielsen. Now, companies issuing their own tokens could decimate those fees if they can convince consumers to transact in dollar-pegged tokens instead. In fact, when the Wall Street Journal reported in June that Walmart and Amazon were considering their own stablecoins to cut down on fees, Visa, MasterCard, and American Express all saw their stocks slide.
Maybe the market fears that the interchange revenue will be disrupted, but people like credit cards. They like rewards programs. They like points. So I don't think that's going away. Maybe there will be some disruption, but as far as I can tell, Visa and MasterCard are leading into the disruption. They're trying to disrupt themselves. So they seem to be ahead of the curve here.
Visa told CNBC that it's embracing stablecoins.
We've been enabling people to issue Visa credentials on top of stablecoins. We've been modernizing our own settlement infrastructure with stablecoins. And we have a whole host of innovations that we plan to deploy around the world embracing stablecoins.
Not to be left behind, MasterCard announced that it was enabling multiple stablecoin transactions on its token network with the help of stablecoin issuer Paxos. And then there's the idea that stablecoins could speed up the financial system. JP Morgan announced its JPMD deposit token. The bank said it's similar to a stable coin, but rather than representing one US dollar, the coin represents a commercial bank deposit. Now, it's limited to institutions, but it offers round-the-clock settlement. Right now, banks pay a roughly 4.3% fee to get funds from the Fed overnight, and many transactions can't happen overnight at all.
JP Morgan told CNBC the new offering allows clients to move money around faster, earn interest, and still keep a close tie to the traditional financial system.
But as TradFi quickly embraces these crypto tokens, some are raising alarm bells about the risks. 2023's banking crisis didn't just expose cracks in the traditional financial system, it also hit stablecoins. When Silicon Valley Bank collapsed in March, Circle's USDC lost its peg to the US dollar.
So what happened to USDC? Well, its issuer Circle said that it had $3.3 billion worth of cash parked with the now collapsed Silicon Valley Bank. And as a result, this is what happened, a massive depeg.
When the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston convened to explore the implications of stablecoins on financial stability, William Birdthistle, former SEC director of the Division of Investment Management, compared stablecoins to money market funds. He said that in the worst runs on those kind of funds, investors only lost a penny or two on the dollar. But stablecoins, those could fall to zero. Now, the industry saw this with the collapse of the Terra USD stablecoin in 2022. That event snowballed into a total crash of the crypto market as investment firms went under and crypto exchanges went bankrupt. There's also money laundering risks. A report from the US Treasury in 2021 found illicit finance concerns with stablecoins, particularly giving bad actors the ability to skirt sanctions and anti-money laundering rules.
Previous administration of the United States made it very difficult. Senator Warren sent letters to the auditors, basically suggesting that they should not touch crypto companies. And the OCC was very against crypto companies. Banks were not banking crypto companies.
Now, crypto's major collapse and rise in criminal activity made Congress sit up and pay attention. Now, lawmakers are hoping to pass the first major regulation to solve some of the problems that stablecoins exposed. The Senate's advance of its stablecoin regulation, the Genius Act, was applauded by both crypto businesses and regulators.
We've been embracing and building for years, preparing for this moment. The Genius Act has now passed the Senate, as you know, and is expected to pass the House. I think that'll give regulatory clarity to stablecoins.
The bill contains key provisions, protections for consumers, reserve and annual audit requirements for token issuers, and it lets the Treasury Department designate foreign stablecoin issuers as non-compliant. The bill passed with bipartisan support and now heads to the House, which has been working on its own stablecoin framework. But
we covered the Genius Act. Quiet Storm sent me the actual bill, and we read through a bit of it on one of the news desks like previous month. All right, cool. So that's our crypto segment. We'll just do a quick by the numbers, courtesy of Irvin Reed, and get up out of here. Let's look at some polling numbers on the 2026 Senate map. What we got? Cool. Let's go.
We have a ton of new polls to look at, and in this video, for the first time ever, we'll be taking a look at the 2026 Senate map based on the latest polling averages. We'll begin on the West Coast, move our way up into the Northeast, and finish down south. Starting off in Oregon, where incumbent Democrat Jeff Merkley is on track to win a fourth term. Meanwhile, Republicans will sweep Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and South Dakota. Nebraska, though, is going to be slightly more competitive as Dan Osborne is once again challenging the incumbent Republican. This time, it's Pete Ricketts. Osborne came within 7 points of Deb Fischer back in 2024, and while he is a strong challenger, it is unlikely he will ultimately win this race. He performed a lot better than any Democrat could, but Pete Ricketts, as the incumbent Republican, is still on track to win a second 6-year term. all of the pundits have this as a solid or likely Republican race. And so Nebraska will be likely red on our map. Kansas and Oklahoma are going to be solid red, though. Meanwhile, Democrats are expected to hold on to Colorado and New Mexico. In Colorado, we have John Hickenlooper running for his second term. And in New Mexico, we have incumbent Ben Ray Lujan also running for his second term. Both of the incumbents are expected to win by around 10 points. So both Colorado and New Mexico will be likely Democrat on our map. Next up, in Texas, Republicans are in a much better position here than they were just a few months ago, as incumbent Republican John Cornyn now leads by 6 points. Cornyn is running for a fifth term, and he's likely going to be challenged by Colin Allred, the Democratic nominee from back in 2024. He lost to Ted Cruz by 8.5 points, while Trump defeated Harris in the presidential election by 13.7. Democrats are not going to flip the Lone Star State. John Cornyn is on track to win his re-election to another 6-year term. And so Texas will be likely red on this map. Cornyn is probably not going to win by more than 15, but it will definitely be more than 5. And now that we have the western half of the U.S. filled in, we're going to move on over to Alaska, where Dan Sullivan is running for re-election to a third term. He was re-elected in 2020 by 12 points, even though all the polls had him winning by just around 3. Many of them even had him losing the election entirely to Democrat Al Gross. And so even though this poll here shows Mary Peltola within 1% of Sullivan, this is nothing to worry about for Republicans. This is a Democratic-sponsored poll. Mary Peltola is the former U.S. representative for Alaska's at-large district who lost her re-election back in 2024. And so Dan Sullivan is very likely to win a third term here. All of the pundits have this as a solid Republican race, except for race to the White House, which is by far the most left-leaning of the 4. And so Alaska is going to be likely red on our map. Moving up now to the Midwest, we'll begin in Minnesota, where we have a hotly contested race to fill the seat that will be vacated by Tina Smith, who was reelected by just 5 points in 2020. On the Democratic side, the nominee will likely be Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. On the Republican side, it's likely going to be Royce White, a former basketball player who challenged Amy Klobuchar in 2024. And just look at how poorly Democrats did in the presidential election. Kamala Harris wins by just 4.2%, and that is with Tim Walz, the literal governor of Minnesota, on the ballot with her. And so in 2026, Minnesota is going to be competitive, but Democrats do have a slight advantage, and so we'll be placing it into the lean Democratic column. Down in Iowa, Joni Ernst leads by just 2 points against a generic Democrat. This is not what you would want to see as the incumbent U.S. Senator. However, this is a poll funded by a Democratic sponsor, and ultimately, Joni Ernst will be able to win if she does indeed run. There is a movement to primary her, but she would probably survive that if she were to enter the race. And all of the pundits have this as likely Republican, again, with race to the White House as the only exception. Iowa will very likely re-elect Joni Ernst, and if not her, another Republican. The state will be likely red, with Ernst on track to win a third term. In neighboring Illinois, 5-term incumbent Dick Durbin will not be seeking re-election, which will make the seat open. However, Democrats are very likely to hold on. The Democratic nominee is probably going to be Raja Krishnamurthy. He's a current U.S. congressman. And while this seat would generally be solid, looking at Kamala Harris's performance here from 2024, when she won Illinois by just 11 points compared to Biden's 17, it's clear that Illinois has taken a significant shift to the right, and that is why the state will only be likely blue on our map. Also, of course, given the fact that it's an open seat, Illinois will be more competitive than it would have been with Dick Durbin. Up in Michigan, this is the GOP's best chance to flip a seat on the entire map. This is where Democrats are the most vulnerable. And in the Wolverine state, Gary Peters, the incumbent Democrat, will be retiring after winning by less than 2 points against John James in 2020. This was a surprisingly close race. John James is now running for Michigan governor to succeed Gretchen Whitmer. But on the Senate level, we have Mike Rogers as the Republican frontrunner for the nomination, running likely against Haley Stevens, the Democratic leader. And so Mike Rogers is at 43% according to our polling average, and he is the best possible person for Republicans to nominate for this seat. Just look at his performance in 2024. He came within half a percentage point of defeating Alyssa Slotkin. This was an open seat, but this was a seat that nobody thought Republicans could win. The GOP barely gave Mike Rogers any money, but ultimately he came within half a point. And so in 2026, he is going to get a lot more funding, and Republicans have a very real chance at flipping Michigan. Right now, I would say that they are the slight favorites. And so Michigan is going to be tilt Republican on our map, with Mike Rogers leading by 1 point. We also have big news in Ohio, which has become significantly more competitive over the last few days. John Husted, the incumbent Republican who was appointed to fill the vacancy left by J.D. Vance, is at 48%, as opposed to Sherrod Brown's 44%. And Sherrod Brown is a familiar name, as he is a 3-time U.S. Senator from the Buckeye State. Now, he lost re-election in 2024 to Bernie Moreno by 3.6%, but he has decided that he wants to return to the Senate, and he will run against John Husted this time around. And ultimately, Republicans will win here. The state is simply too Republican at this point. I mean, maybe 12 years ago, if you look at 2012, Barack Obama was able to carry the state in the presidential election. This was the last major win for Democrats in Ohio. But since then, Trump flipped it in 2016, held on to the state in 2020 by the same margin, and it nearly doubled his margin in 2024 to over 11 points. Ohio is firmly within Republican control, and John Husted will not have too much trouble securing a full 6-year term. But based on the data, it is going to be a lean for the GOP. We will now move our way over to the Northeast, where Democrats will easily hold on to Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Delaware. Meanwhile, New Hampshire is going to be a lot more competitive, as the incumbent Jeanne Shaheen has chosen not to run for re-election after winning by 16 points in 2020. And so this leaves the Democratic nomination open to Chris Pappas, a congressman who is likely going to run against Scott Brown, a former U.S. Senator. Scott Brown served from the state of Massachusetts from 2010 to 2013. He was the predecessor to Elizabeth Warren. And yes, as a Republican, he was able to win a U.S. Senate special election in Massachusetts. And so Scott Brown is a uniquely strong candidate for this race. If it was anyone else, it would be a clear victory for Chris Pappas. Now, Pappas still does have the slight advantage, but I do believe that this race can be one of the most exciting and surprising races of next year. And so right now, I have New Hampshire as lean blue, but that could very well change in the coming months, and we will keep a very close eye on the Granite State. Next up in Maine, we have by far the most vulnerable Republican incumbent in the country. And that, of course, is Susan Collins, who, if she ran, would be running for a 6th term. There's a good chance that she does actually run. She is already, though, the state's longest-serving member of Congress. And so Susan Collins was reelected by 8 points in 2020. This was a huge upset, as all of the polls had her losing to Democrat Sarah Gideon by around 5 points. And if you compare Collins' performance to Trump's in 2020, you'll see that Susan Collins outperformed the Republican nominee by 17 points. Susan Collins is a force to be reckoned with in Maine, and she has a very good chance at winning re-election if she does intend to run. All of the pundits right now have it as a tilt to lean Republican, and so we are going to place Maine into the lean GOP category. It is going to be close, but Republicans right now are looking okay. Coming on down to the South, Republicans are going to easily take West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Meanwhile, we have 5 races that are going to be slightly more competitive that we'll be taking a closer look at. And starting up top in Virginia, Republicans could have a winner here if Glenn Youngkin does choose to jump into the race. Mark Warner is the incumbent Democrat who is seeking a 3rd full term. Glenn Youngkin, meanwhile, is the incumbent governor who was elected in a huge upset in 2021. And so governors are not allowed to run for re-election in Virginia, so he would be able to easily run for the U.S. Senate seat after his gubernatorial term ends. However, he may have his eyes on 2028 and not want to risk the prospect of losing. And so Mark Warner does lead by 7 points in this poll. However, ultimately, the race will be significantly closer if Glenn Youngkin does choose to jump in. This is a Democrat-funded poll, and also it was conducted many, many months ago. And so in reality, Glenn Youngkin would not lose by any more than 5 points at worst. He may even have a good shot at winning. Glenn Youngkin is a much younger and much more exciting candidate than the incumbent Democrat. And so on our map, Virginia is going to be lean for the Dems. North Carolina, though, is going to be even more competitive after Tom Tillis has announced that he will be dropping out. He is not going to seek a 3rd term in office, and instead it's going to be Michael Whatley at the top of the Republican ticket. He is the chair of the Republican National Committee, and he will likely run against Roy Cooper, the former Democratic governor. And so Michael Whatley is a very strong candidate on the Republican side. The same can be said for Roy Cooper on the Democratic side. And so we will have a very exciting race here with 2 top-tier candidates. Now, the main reason why Roy Cooper currently holds this 3-point lead is because of his massive name recognition advantage. Michael Whatley is not yet as well known in the Tar Heel state, but in the coming months, as he gets time to campaign, this race is going to tighten up. It is probably going to be one of the closest on the entire map. However, Republicans do have the slight edge here just by default. Looking at the presidential election results, Trump won North Carolina in 2016, 2020, and 2024. It's the only one of the 7 swing states that he won in all 3 cycles. And so North Carolina on our map will be tilt Democrat. A lot of the polls that went into that average were Democrat funded. Ultimately, it is going to go down to the wire. But right now, based solely on the data, Democrats have the slightest of edges. And then South Carolina, I typically would color in solid red, but the problem here is that Lindsey Graham is running for re-election, and he simply isn't popular in his home state. There are people that want to primary him. They're probably going to be unsuccessful. Lindsey Graham still does have the support of Donald Trump, but he has been known for being a flip-flopper his entire career. He is really unpopular in South Carolina, but the state is not going to elect a Democrat, and that is the only reason why he still serves in the U.S. Senate. Lindsey Graham, though, is still going to win. The state is going to be likely for the GOP. Georgia, though, is going to be just as competitive as North Carolina, and this is a race that Democrats have to win if they want to have any shot at flipping the Senate at all. And so that will mean that incumbent Democrat Jon Ossoff will need to win re-election to a 2nd term. He was first elected in 2021 after a runoff race against, at the time, Republican incumbent David Perdue. And so Jon Ossoff is a strong candidate. On the Republican side, it's likely going to be Congressman Mike Collins. He would be a strong challenger to Ossoff. Ossoff currently leads by 2 points against Collins. However, a lot of these polls, like the ones previously, are Democrat funded. And the reason why so many of these polls are funded by Democratic organizations is because they are in the minority in the Senate and they are chasing the majority. And so they are going to be putting in more money into research and gauging the viability of many of these races. And so Jon Ossoff does lead by 2 points right now, but this race will get more competitive as the months go on. And you also have to remember that Donald Trump was able to take Georgia back in 2024, defeating Kamala Harris by 2.2%. And so for now, Georgia will be placed into the same category as North Carolina, which will, of course, be tilt blue. And finally, in Florida, we have the appointed Senator Ashley Moody running for election to a 1st full term. He was appointed after Marco Rubio became Trump's Secretary of State. And so Moody is on track to win her 1st full term. Democrats are basically dead in Florida at this point. I mean, look at the Senate election in 2022. Marco Rubio won by 16 points against Val Demings. In 2024, Rick Scott won by 13 points. And in the presidential election, Donald Trump also won by 13. I mean, these are incredible margins when considering the fact that just 8 years ago in 2016, Trump carried Florida by just 1%. And that was a huge upset after Obama's 0.9% win in 2012. And so Florida is going to be likely Republican on the map. Ashley Moody will win her first term by around a 10-point margin. And so this means that based on the latest polling data, Republicans are on track to maintain their Senate majority, winning 53 seats. If we were to project this onto the 100 senators map, it will look like this, with the state color representing the state's senior senator and the circle representing the state's junior senator. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like it down below if you enjoyed it. Comment down below which part of you...
All right, bet. All right, that's our by the numbers segment. We're at the 1 hour 36 minute mark. That's my time for the evening, gentlemen. I want to thank everybody for coming out and hanging out with me in the chat while we do some news. I did double header tonight. Yeah, definitely keep an eye out for us doing these clip shows with some more of the 1.0 content creators, remixed, of course, and put on some fly skins. That being said, man, couldn't do it without you guys. Thanks for hanging out. That's my time for this evening. I want to say good night and good luck.
Sorry.
Hey, where's Stewie? That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter.
There it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean, to play us out? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today, and we'll leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it, and we'll do it live! Fucking thing sucks!
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Stewie Griffin. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.